Hey, welcome back to Go Follow Yeshua, our weekly Torah portion for Latter-day Saints,
Yeah.
where we discuss the Torah because Jesus loves the Torah and he kept it perfectly and he instructed his followers to do likewise. So we are here to
You
try
might
to,
you might say that he fulfilled
that's
all
right.
righteousness,
He fulfilled all righteousness in
which means to do. Yeah.
to do. He
Yeah.
embodies Torah
Right.
and he wants us to do the same. And in fact, the
He is,
gospel.
yeah. I love that I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
No, please go for it.
Embodied, like he is the word made flesh. It
Yes.
literally is like an embodiment of God's Torah.
Yes. The principles contained in Torah, he perfectly embodies.
Yeah.
And then the outward bodily rituals and things of Torah, he observed. And so we're here to discuss and learn Torah so we can do likewise. He instructed his followers to keep Torah, notably during the Sermon on the Mount and Sermon at the Temple in the Book of Mormon. And those, in fact, are him re-giving the Torah. This is widely understood that the Sermon on the Mount is a recapitulation of Torah, sort of a renewal of the everlasting covenant. And so, again, we're here to discuss the Torah so that we can better live it and apply its principles. And for these reasons, it is relevant to Latter-day Saints. And
Love
it,
that.
yeah. And if you study the life and mission of Joseph Smith, you will see that Joseph was headed in this direction, although he
100%
he was working with, Protestants.
us.
Us, right? The early Latter-day Saints were all Protestants, and some of that baggage includes a view that Torah is irrelevant or even wrong for different
Hmm.
reasons. And actually, we plan on having a discussion soon where we're going to touch on some of the most
More
common,
specific issues.
yeah, specific
Yeah.
issues, some of the common myths about Torah. Today, we'll be discussing the Torah portion known as Vayetze, and that is comprised of Genesis 28:10 through 32:3.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So let us begin.
Yeah. Now we're doing this right after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So this is our turkey stock made from our leftover turkey,
Awesome.
just to make sure, just to put you all at ease. What
Hit
is that? What is that we're sipping?
right. Hit pause and go make some turkey stock right now. Go get a turkey if you have to.
Can I actually say I always want to make one little connection between Thanksgiving and Torah.
Please.
Okay, so when the this just seems timely. When the Pilgrims came over, 1620, they had a really rough year, right? 1621 was really rough winter. 1621 though was better, and they got their crops in, and they had a bountiful harvest. And they decided to, invite the Wampanoag, or the Abenaki tribe actually, with Chief Massasoit and to their party, their Thanksgiving celebration, what we now know kind of as the first Thanksgiving. And interestingly, we actually don't know the date when that first Thanksgiving occurred. Now we celebrate it, fourth Thursday in November, but the records that we have narrow it down, and it was probably much closer to harvest time, so like September, October. And from what historians are able to tell, it's like September 21st to October 11th is kind of like if I remember correctly, is the window, with September 29th being the most likely date. Now, interesting though, the Pilgrims, they were they were very interested in, well, they actually saw themselves as Israel, as like a new embodiment of, and like a new covenant in this new promised land, and they were going to like carry on the heritage or the tradition, the Israelite tradition. And so imperfectly, uh, for sure, but they were definitely like trying to keep all of God's laws and things. So it is interesting that September 29th, which is kind of the most likely day of 1621, was the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And so the Thanksgiving was actually modeled after the harvest festival of Sukkot or Tabernacles. And so when we're celebrating Thanksgiving, we're actually celebrating kind of a belated Feast of Tabernacles.
That's
So
fantastic.
yeah,
A lot like Hanukkah.
Hanukkah is also a belated Feast of Tabernacles. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
Excellent. Thanks for that little bit of American history.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of the early Americans identified with Israel, and that's not an accident.
right. No, yeah, and we as Latter-day Saints approve of that,
Absolutely.
right? We believe that this is the promised land, and uh, it is for Israel's inheritance for Joseph. It's the land of Joseph, right?
Right. When George Washington was giving his first inaugural address,
Yeah,
when presidents do that, they typically have a Bible in hand.
right.
His thumb was on the verse that says, Joseph is a fruitful bough that runneth over the
At
well.
Genesis 49, I think, right?
Yes.
That's right.
So
Amazing.
I love it. And that's why we're here. We want to embody Israel.
Yeah. Amen.
And Torah is the best way to do that because Torah is no different than the gospel of Jesus Christ. The gospel and doctrine of Christ are distillations of everything that is in Torah.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I love that.
So, without further ado, let us begin the narrative. When we last left off, Jacob had to get out of town because he stole the birthright and the kingship
Yeah,
from
rough.
poor Esau. And we definitely expressed sympathy for Esau.
Yeah.
But I don't think Jacob is in the wrong. This is divine. This is his manifest destiny,
Yeah,
if you will.
right. And we're gonna we're gonna kind of see in this portion and in the next portions, um, like Jacob kind of mature, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so sometimes there might be a question like, gosh, that was like a deceitful thing that Jacob did with his mother's help to Isaac and to his brother. And how could God like ratify that? But God had a very long view in mind and and saw that Jacob was going to mature into the kind of man that would merit those blessings actually.
And he already seemed to have been more interested than Esau
Right.
in this blessing
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. Amen.
So it makes sense that the blessing would flow to him. In fact, Rachel knew this from the womb, or excuse me, Rebecca
Hmm.
knew this from the womb,
Right.
which means it seems that Jacob had already merited it in the pre-existence as a noble and great one.
Yeah. What a Mormon thing to say.
Yeah,
What a Latter-day Saint thing to say.
I'm
Yeah.
very much a true blue Latter-day Saint,
Yeah.
PBLDS. So Jacob's getting out of town. He's heading toward Haran to acquire a bride in the covenant lineage, or a bride who is not a Canaanite.
Right.
Um, and this is at Rebecca and Isaac's direction. So Jacob's headed there. He lays down for the night on his way to Haran, and he has an interesting dream, a very famous dream.
Yeah.
This dream, in his dream, in his vision, Jacob sees a ladder from the earth to heaven. He sees angels ascending and descending this ladder, and he sees God at the top of this ladder. This is very much a liturgical vision. Um, in the temple is an ascension back to heaven. It's an ascension to God.
He calls it, well, he doesn't call it the temple, but right, he calls this place the house of God.
Beth El,
Bethel, yeah.
the house of God,
Which is that is
the,
the
the
temple.
temple.
Right.
Yes,
This is a
exactly.
temple vision.
This is a temple
Temple dream or
vision,
whatever.
and it strikes him in such a way that he calls this place in which he had this vision a holy place. He marks this place as a temple. And again, the temple is the path of ascension to God, and you have this ascension theme of these angels ascending and descending. But also, I think it not only is it liturgical, but it sort of illustrates the economy of heaven where angels are constantly condescending here to minister,
Hmm.
and even pre-mortal angels are condescending here to take up a mortal body. I just think there's a lot packed into this vision. I think there's a lot of commentary that could be had regarding this vision of Jacob's ladder.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to
I do
say?
have one bit of commentary,
Yes.
and that is that Jesus quotes. this vision in the first chapter of John. So I'm just going to read that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. John chapter 1. Um, uh, he is, he's like, Jesus is choosing like some of his uh, disciples. Okay. And he's talking to Nathaniel. And, and so I'm just gonna give a little bit of background, I guess, or a little bit of a few verses. So Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said to him, Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Nathanael said unto him, Whence knowest thou me? And Jesus answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wert under the fig tree, I saw thee.
Hmm.
And so he's like, I saw you before we had this meeting. Nathanael answered and said unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. Jesus answered and said unto him, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under a fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. And he said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting that um, in the vision that Jacob has, I mean, here Jesus is saying, I mean, Jesus calls himself the Son of Man. So he's
Hmm.
saying, angels, you're going to see the heavens open and angels ascending and descending on me. But in Jacob's vision, it says that the angels were ascending and descending on the ladder,
Mm. Wow.
and ascending and descending on it. It says, meaning the ladder.
Right.
But in Hebrew, uh, you know, uh, there isn't really a word for it. So um, I think the Hebrew can be understood as he saw angels ascending and descending on him.
Isn't
Him meaning referring to the ladder because
you're right.
ladders.
It's a masculine word.
Right, yeah. And so here, Yeshua, Jesus is like pointing out that he in some way is this ladder that is the bridge between heaven and earth.
He is the intercessor. He is the temple. He is the law. He
Yes.
embodies the path of ascent. Adam embodies the journey from creation down to fall.
Yeah.
Christ embodies the journey from fall, or from, yeah, fall back up to at-one-ment
Yeah.
or atonement.
Yeah. This is
Wow.
amazing too because this is in John chapter 1 where it talks about how God will tabernacle with us.
The word made flesh.
Yeah, so Jesus is saying I am God's house,
Amazing.
right? I am
Yep.
the temple. I am and this is of course we've talked about before like there's just so many layers of symbolism here. But but Jesus is God's temple or tabernacle, on the earth. And he draws on
Wow.
that dream there.
There are layers of symbolism, but at the same time, all truth is circumscribed into one great whole. Christ is the embodiment of the law. The temple is the physical representation of the law. All of these paths of ascension, it's
Yeah,
all one.
it's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I'm glad you brought that up. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. So in this vision, he sees Yahovah, God, the God of his fathers, Abraham and Isaac, at the top of the ladder. And God reconfirms the Abrahamic covenant or everlasting covenant with Jacob. And I think this is the first time, and I might be missing one in the last portion, but I think this might be the first time God confirms his covenant personally with Jacob.
Yeah, like Isaac kind of gives it to him in the last. Isaac says, and may God give thee the blessing of Abraham and to thy seed. But here, like God himself is
Hmm.
confirming that. Yeah.
God himself confirms it with Jacob, just as he did with Abraham and Isaac several times,
Right.
which is awesome. And this blessing consists of innumerable seed, property, the land of Canaan, prosperity, protection. So,
I
okay.
love in verse 15. This is just so powerful. The Lord says, "Behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest,
Hmm.
and will bring thee again to this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of."
Isn't that incredible? It shows God's,
Faithful. He is
it's,
faithful.
he is the embodiment of faith. And a word I really like is compassion.
Yeah.
The compassion comes from the Latin cum passione, which means to be with. God has
Okay.
compassion, meaning he is with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mm,
He is their friend. He's their beloved, their king.
amazing.
Yeah. So after Jacob has this heavenly vision, he wakes up. The fear of the Lord is in him. He realizes, oh, I'm on sacred ground, as we already said. And he names this place Bethel. It was not originally named that,
Right.
but
Originally named Luz or Luz, right?
yeah, Luz. And then Jacob makes a vow that if God will fulfill everything he has said, Jacob will tithe. He will give a tenth of everything
Mm,
he has
mm.
to God.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't say what that looks like. Abraham tithed to Melchizedek,
Yeah.
but the point is Jacob will tithe.
Yeah. Which is, again, just amazing because we have not read any laws about tithing yet.
Right, not yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But the laws describing tithing don't show up until Moses, and
Hmm.
yet these ancient patriarchs know about the law
They
of tithing.
kept the Torah.
Yeah.
Remember, the terms for the everlasting covenant is everlasting. The terms are unchanging. Torah contains the terms of the everlasting covenant. Therefore, the patriarchs before Moses, there are so many hints in scripture that they kept the same terms, that they
Mm.
kept Torah. And that's why I'm really excited for Exodus through Deuteronomy. Because again, I've said Genesis is like the legacy of the covenant from Adam to Abraham,
Hmm.
and Exodus through Deuteronomy is like the specifics of the covenant. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of a geek, and so are you, and
Hmm.
so it's going to be fun to get into
Yeah.
those weeds. But so that ends chapter 28.
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, 29. Jacob makes it to the gates of Haran, his destination, and he sees some sheep herders preparing to water their flocks. And he asks them about Laban. He asks, "Is Laban well?" That sort of thing. And they confirm that he's well. And they point out that his daughter is coming with Laban's sheep to water them right now.
Right.
And so Jacob says, "You guys, the well is closed off by a stone." Jacob says, "You guys should water your flocks." And they say, "We can't until all the sheep are gathered together."
Mm.
And then an authority of some kind, rolls the stone and opens up the well,
Mm.
which seems like a small detail, but it's something I find kind of funny is coming up. So they say they're going to wait to water their sheep, and then because they have to. And then Rachel brings out Laban's flocks, and Jacob rolls the stone from the well. And it's funny because I never noticed this before.
It's like,
Yeah, Jacob's not the authority. He's not like this is premature. If I'm reading correctly, Rachel brings out Laban's flocks, and it's like it doesn't say that all the sheep have been gathered yet or
mm,
anything, but Jacob takes it upon himself to roll a stone off the well,
for
like
her.
for her. So it's already clear that he's smitten. He's bucking authority to roll this to
It's
unroll
funny.
this stone. Yeah. Yeah.
Stones are kind of a thing in this Torah portion too.
Okay.
There's a lot of
Yes.
stones, right?
Yeah, you're right. There are.
So yeah, we didn't mention, but when he has his dream, he's like sleeping on a stone
Right.
as a pillow,
Right.
and he
Oh, and
and he has this vision.
I forgot to mention, after he has his vision, he takes one of those stones and sets it up as a pillar
Right.
and then anoints that stone. And that pillar is sort of the sign of the covenant. And that's when he vows that he will tithe
Mm,
to
hmm.
God. And I meant to mention that because it's interesting. the first instance of the word anoint in Torah, which comes from the word, which is the word mashach,
Yeah.
related to Messiah, is of, I think, Abraham anointing a pillar as well. So
Well,
I was going to ask you,
I love that. You know why?
okay, tell me.
Because Jesus says, I am the stone of Israel.
Yeah,
He
wow.
is the anointed one.
He's the anointed pillar,
He's the anointed stone.
and he's the foundation stone, which is temple
Whoa,
imagery.
yeah. Angels descending and ascending upon me.
Yes, he's
There's
the
the stone.
stone. Ah,
Whoa.
so many
Yeah,
connected.
it just goes to show like sometimes people feel like they read the Old Testament and they feel like Jesus just isn't there. Like they can't find Jesus. It's like they'd rather read the New Testament. And the New Testament's great, or the Book of Mormon. The Book of Mormon's great too. But there is a kind of blindness that the Jews in Jesus' time had. Not all of them, but the leadership at least, and his opponents, a certain kind of spiritual blindness where they could not see Jesus in the Old Testament. So if you're, in that camp, realize that you're kind of falling into the same path or pattern as those opponents of Jesus. So he's in there. It's just you just might have to dig a little bit
Yeah,
to because it's like symbolic representation rather than just like
narrative.
surface, yeah, narrative representation. And narrative representation, is very clear, but symbolic representation is deep and like makes connections, right?
Narrative representation can it's awesome. We love it, but symbolic representation can go a lot farther. A lot more can be mined from symbolism.
Right.
And that's the beauty of symbolism. That's why we do ritual ordinances because
Mhm.
they can teach us in a million different ways.
Yeah, the
Um,
layers are so deep.
yes. Jesus is literally on every single page of Torah, especially when we get to the law portion, the Exodus through Deuteronomy. I mean, he's everywhere,
Yeah,
every page.
every page.
And I'm not just saying that. That's not an empty claim.
Hmm.
So I can't wait to bring some of that out.
Okay.
So again, Jacob acts all macho, and I get it. I do the same thing. He's apparently smitten by Rachel, and he rolls the stone so that the sheep can be watered. He immediately embraces Rachel and kisses her,
Yeah.
and he is, like I said, utterly smitten. And then he explains to Rachel that he is her kin.
Yeah.
He's her cousin or something, right? Her second cousin or first
Yeah.
cousin.
I mean, it says um he's Jacob told Rachel he was her father's brother.
Mhm.
Okay, which is yeah, on one sense there's a yeah, it just means like a male kin. There is another meaning, which I'll get to later,
Okay.
but just put a pin in that thing
He is her
because
father's brother.
father's brother, yeah, Laban, father is Laban, right?
Yeah.
He's Laban's brother. So
Isaac's brother-in-law, Laban.
correct. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so Laban is Jacob's uncle,
Hmm.
right?
Maternal.
Yes.
Excellent.
And they're cousins.
So they go back to Laban's house and they have a very warm encounter.
Yeah.
And then Jacob stays for a month. And after a month of staying there, Jacob or Laban asks Jacob if he will serve him, if he'll work with him. And he asks Jacob his price.
What will your wages be? Yeah.
And Jacob says, I will serve you 7 years for your daughter's hand, for Rachel's hand.
Hmm.
And Laban agrees.
Do you want to okay, continue?
No, please.
This is another like amazing like Torah law, law of Moses thing that's showing up before when Jacob is destitute. Like Jacob doesn't have any money or property.
He didn't bring anything.
Yeah.
He left by
Right.
himself.
Yeah. His father's goods and home are,
Well, Isaac's still alive, and yes, Jacob is the inheritor of the kingdom. He has future wealth,
yeah.
but he doesn't have current
Yeah. But
wealth.
he's poor.
He's poor.
Yeah. So it's just a little foreshadowing here of some things, but in the law, if someone is indebted and and they're impoverished for whatever reason, they actually have the option of indenturing themselves. So they'll basically work off their loan, right? Or their debt, whatever. But according to the law, the longest amount of time that you can be in debt is 7 years.
Mm,
So what Jacob is actually telling Laban is like Rachel is so valuable that I will serve for like this is like the maximum debt that I could incur to work for her.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
He loves Rachel.
Yeah. It's like I will incur the maximum possible. Like this is the most valuable thing. Like I will pay the highest price possible, like according to the law.
I
Yeah.
understand this level of love because the first time I laid eyes on my wife,
Hmm.
I was literally smitten in the same way. Shout out to my wife. I love you. I was smitten in the exact same way. I can't even explain. Like the very instant I saw her, I knew.
Yeah.
And so I,
It's a common experience
right,
among men, I think. Yeah.
right. And it's amazing.
Right.
Um, but I would have totally agreed to labor 7 years for her. I was that
Right.
smitten, and
Yeah.
I think you had the same feeling,
How many
right?
cows though?
How many cows?
Eight,
10.
10 cows.
10 cow.
Wow.
Shout out to Johnny Lingo.
Yeah.
The old one, not the new
Oh,
one.
yeah, yeah. The old one's awesome.
They used to show that in the temple when I was a youth.
Really?
There was
Like
a
in the waiting room or
there was
whatever?
a painting in the waiting room, and the painting slid open like a James Bond movie. And my 12-year-old mind was like, blown. I'd never seen anything like that. And we would watch Johnny Lingo while waiting to do baptisms.
That's amazing. I love that.
Looking back, it's hilarious that they would show that to us in the temple.
It's a good. I showed it to my kids a year like last year probably or something.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna insert Johnny Lingo right here, the full movie, and
Okay.
then
And
our
then back to our regularly scheduled program.
regular exactly. No. Anyway, thank you for that tidbit from Torah. Amazing. So Laban agrees, and we got a note here. Laban has two daughters.
Yeah.
Rachel is the younger. He has an older daughter named Leah.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to say this right now. According to this is Jewish legend, they are also twins.
Okay.
Rachel and Leah are twins.
But
Older and younger, like Jacob and Esau.
okay,
Older,
so
one's older,
Leah
one's younger. Yeah.
Leah was born first and then Rachel immediately after.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. You're right.
So it mentions here how Rachel is like beautiful beyond
Yeah.
description, but Leah has tender eyes.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Well,
Is it an idiom or is it's I don't think it's
I think it's disputed
okay.
what it means. So, one possibility is that she's nearsighted and they don't really have glasses, so she's like squinting all the time to be able to see or something.
Right.
And so that kind of affects her appearance. That's one possibility. Another possibility, and this goes to the rabbinical tradition, is that Jacob and Esau, or I should say Esau and Jacob, were twins, and Leah and Rachel were twins, and that the intention always was for Leah to marry Esau,
The
and
older twin marrying
yeah,
the older twin.
right, and then Jacob to marry Rachel, but Esau wasn't interested, right? And he goes marries like Hittite women or whatever,
Yep.
and he's also just not interested in the covenant, right? He just quote despise his birthright, and that this was like a grief to Leah because she's looking like she knows about Esau and what he's like, and that she's like she's just like crying all the time about it, and like so her eyes are like puffy and swollen, and so that's like the tenderness of her eyes is her lamentation about the possibility that she's going to be given to Esau.
Because she knows he's not faithful to the covenant
Right. Yeah.
as he
No, so
should
no,
be.
this is a legend, but it is an interesting possibility.
No, I love that you bring in Jasher and Jubilees. I think it's really awesome to consider these
Mm.
possibilities and make these connections. So I appreciate that, and also that you bring in Jewish legends, maybe from the Talmud.
Right.
So yeah, that's good stuff, and I'm sure that some of it's true.
Yeah.
That I don't think it's possible that everything in Jasher, Jubilees, and the Talmud are wrong
Right.
are wrong, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway, okay. So 7 years pass. He does his service. It seems as only a few days to him. That's how in love he is with Rachel,
Right.
which is awesome. I love hearing about it. Uh, and so then they have a large wedding feast.
Ta-da.
Ta-da! And in the background, Laban gives his handmaid Zilpah to Leah.
Yeah.
When the wedding feast is over, I can imagine that Jacob is a little bit toasty on wine
A
or
little
something,
tipsy, maybe.
little
Yeah, that
tipsy.
might have contributed.
But anyway, Laban sends Leah in unto
Yeah.
Jacob, in the dark of the night, and Jacob unwittingly sleeps with Leah.
Hmm.
And he wakes up in the morning and he's like,
Behold,
"Yeah,
it was Leah.
it was Leah. What hast thou done to me? Thou
Yeah.
thou deceivest me."
Yeah.
And
Oh,
and
deceiver. Oh, he's kind of getting a little bit of his own medicine, isn't he?
yeah, he is. That is a connection that's been made. He deceived Esau twice, and
What they had to do is see Rachel was hairy, and so they put like goat skins on Leah. No, I'm just teasing.
she had a beautiful face, but it doesn't say that she wasn't hairy all over, right?
Right.
No.
No, I'm just teasing. That's not a Jewish legend.
It's a Joshua
That's
legend.
just a yeah, it's just a joke.
I love
But
that. Um, so
I am is now a good time. I will share the Jewish legend though. There is a Jewish legend about that.
absolutely.
Sure. And it goes back to when um to a little the story is about Jacob and Rachel's like first encounter.
Okay.
And he's smitten with her, as you said,
Yeah.
and like tells her, I want you to be my wife.
Hmm.
And Rachel says, "Oh, but I should just read it. Let me just read it.
Okay.
This is from the Talmud. The Gemara explains, what was the modesty shown by Rachel, as it is written, and Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. It may be asked, was he, Jacob, in fact, her father's brother? But wasn't he the son of her father's sister? Rather, it must be understood that when Jacob met Rachel, he said to her, will you marry me? She said to him, yes, but my father Laban is a swindler, and you will not be able to outwit him. Jacob alleviated her fears as he said unto her, he is her father's brother, referring not to their familial affiliation, but rather to his ability to deal with her father on his level, as if to say, I am his brother in deception.
I see.
I am also a deceiver. I am your father's brother.
I'm crafty.
I am crafty. Yeah. Okay. Jacob then said to her, what is the deception that he will plan to carry out, and that I should be prepared for? Rachel said to him, I have a sister who is older than I, and he will not marry me off before her, and he will try to give you her in my place. So Jacob gave her, Rachel, certain distinguishing signs that she should use to indicate to him that she was actually Rachel and not her sister. When the wedding night arrived, and Laban planned to switch the sisters, Rachel said to herself, now my sister will be embarrassed, for Jacob will ask her for the signs, and she will not know them. So Rachel, gave them to her sister Leah. And this is as it is written, and it came to pass in the morning, behold, it was Leah. Does this imply, by inference, that until now she was not Leah? No, rather, due to the distinguishing signs that Rachel had given to Leah, he did not know until now, when it was light out, that she was Leah. Therefore, Rachel merited that Saul should descend from her, due to her act of modesty, in not revealing to Jacob that she had shown the signs to Leah.
So Rachel's a deceiver in this story too.
Yeah, so deception all around,
A
but
house of deceivers.
yeah,
Okay. Well, very interesting.
yeah,
Cool. And let's talk about the culture here. Well, first, you mentioned it, but Jacob wakes up. He's confused and irritated, probably devastated to a degree. Laban explains, look, I can't give my younger daughter before my older one. It's not customary here. They exist in a culture that is rooted in honor and shame culture,
yeah.
and it would be very dishonorable to Leah.
Shameful, right.
Shameful.
Embarrassing. And that's kind of mentioned there in the Talmud. Like Rachel's like, my sister is going to be humiliated, and
Exactly.
I love her, and and I actually love that story too because a lot of times when people read and we'll get to it. There's some rivalry that shows up, but
Hmm.
there's also love that shows up too, and
Between
between the sisters. Yeah. So people can see whatever they want to see when they're reading.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. So in honor and shame culture, your actions either bring you honor or shame, and it's communal too. So your actions can bring shame upon your whole community. And the ancient Near Easterners, even in the days of Jesus, take honor and shame very seriously. So it really does seem highly unlikely that Leah would have been married, or it would have brought a lot of shame onto the family to
The whole family.
the
Yeah.
whole family to have Leah married off after her younger sister or not married at all.
Hmm.
And so just, I kind of wanted to explain that. It's a cultural
Yeah.
thing. Um, and so after at this point, uh Laban says that if Jacob will serve 7 more years, he will finally give him the object of his desire, Rachel. And so he does it. And I want to say here, we're going to get into it later, but I'm wondering if Laban, as a deceiver, had some ulterior motives because we're going to see later that through Jacob, Laban has experienced a lot of success.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if this also was a way to keep reaping the benefits of having Jacob around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Laban is uh he's a slave to his greed, kind of, right?
Yeah, and he's a slave master because of it.
Yeah, right.
Jacob is a slave to Laban, and
Right.
Laban is a slave to his greed. Um, so Jacob serves his 7 years, is
Yeah.
given Rachel, and Laban gives Rachel Bilhah as her handmaid. So both of his daughters have handmaids to serve them. And Jacob favors Rachel, and he serves 7 more years.
Right.
And because Jacob favors Rachel, and Leah apparently feels unfavored, the Lord blesses Leah with fertility.
Yeah. I want to say the language is not favored, but that is what it means. I mean, well, it says loved and hate.
Yes,
And
yes,
it's actually very similar. It is the same as what we read last time about where God said, Jacob I loved and Esau I hated.
yes.
Like it does those are it's like an idiomatic usage of those terms. And God doesn't actually despise Esau for Esau's sake. Like he
He doesn't hate Esau
doesn't hate Esau. In fact, he commands the Israelites to love Esau, to
because,
love Edom because he is their brother.
and
The Edomites are their brother.
right,
And same thing here too. Jacob doesn't actually despise Leah, but it does say he loved one and hated the other. But this is just meaning like he chose Rachel first and Leah second. It is true, but that's not to say that Leah was hated. Even if Jacob tried to tell Leah that he loved her just perfectly, it would still, I think, be difficult to believe that
she was the second
when
choice.
when she knows that her sister was like the first choice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I mean that just um, could play on your insecurities, right?
Well, I was just going to say that would probably cause many years, maybe decades of insecurity.
Right.
So, yeah, let's read Genesis 29:32 to 35. I got it.
Okay.
Um, because it says Leah was fruitful, and so we're just going to read about her blessing of fertility from El Shaddai, God Almighty. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, Surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. So what I want to say is all of these names are related to the circumstances.
Right.
The definition of the name is in the verses.
Yeah, it is.
Um, and then 33, she conceived.
So just and if you have the LDS edition of the scriptures, then and probably other editions as well, but there's a footnote down there. So yeah, she says uh, Leah called her firstborn Reuben, for She said, "Surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction." And the name Reuben literally means look, a son.
There you go. It's a play on words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and she conceived again and bare a son and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. Simeon in Hebrew is Shimon. Shimon is related to Shema, which
Ma.
means to
Here.
hear.
Yeah.
The Lord has heard her.
Yeah.
Uh,
Beautiful.
and she conceived again and bare a son and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him three sons. Therefore was his name called Levi.
Yeah. Or Levi,
Levi. And she conceived again,
which means joined.
joined.
Yeah.
I'll be joined with my husband, or
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
yeah. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, now I will praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah or Yehuda and left bearing. So for now, her fertility seems to have slowed down, or for whatever reason they
Hmm.
didn't have any more children. Judah's meaning
Praise.
praise God for
Yeah.
fourth son.
Yeah. That's right. Praise
Fantastic.
God.
Okay. All right. Genesis 30.
Okay. Yeah. We're moving along.
We're getting to some interesting territory soon. So Rachel is envious of Leah for her fruitfulness. Rachel has been barren. And she commands Jacob to bring forth sons. Like, why am I not having sons? What are you, give me sons. And Jacob angrily says, like, I'm not God. I can't fix
All
this.
right.
And to remedy this issue, a familiar motif appears, and that is Rachel gives her handmaid Bilhah to Jacob,
Yeah.
which Sarah did to Abraham. She gave Hagar to Abraham. And
Yeah.
so, uh,
It's interesting. There's like the matriarchs, like except for Leah, but Sarah, uh, Rebecca, and now Rachel all like have fertility issues,
yeah,
and which brings about which like allows God to show His power, right, in this
absolutely.
situation, right,
And this is a big
and His
deal.
favor.
Yeah. And the injunction and blessing to multiply is a huge deal to these patriarchs.
Hmm.
That is one of the main covenant blessings of covenant relationship with God. And it's the first commandment. So
Right.
this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Or it could be read as the first commandment in
Yeah.
Genesis 2 or 3, maybe both. Let's read Genesis 35 through 25 now.
What? Sorry. Can I read verse 3?
Yes, real quick. Rachel gives Bilhah to Jacob, and
Yeah.
so Jacob takes her to concubine.
Yes.
Please, are you down to read three and then, are you down to read
Yeah.
3 through 25?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna comment on 3.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So she said, Rachel said, "Behold my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her."
Hmm.
And then later on, like in verse 6, we'll read it here in a second, but Bilhah actually conceives, has a son, but Rachel says, God has given me a son. So it's interesting that in some sense, I mean, later on in the text, um, the concubines, Bilhah and Zilpah, they are the mothers of their children, and those children are like credited to them.
It's not as if Rachel is stealing Bilhah's child.
Correct. Yes, it
This,
is not that. Okay, but there is in some sense that she like shares this with Bilhah, and
it's about covenant relationship. Rachel is Bilhah's queen, and her Bilhah's issue in some way can be credited to Rachel, but again, Rachel's not stealing
no,
this son, so yeah.
right, yeah. So I want to just like point out that this kind of cultural um, this facet of their culture because it plays on what we talked about uh, in the previous Torah portion, where when Isaac is blessing Jacob, he says he tell So let me back up. Rebecca had only two children, at least two that we know of. Okay, um, which is Jacob and Esau. But when Isaac gives him a blessing, he says, "Be Lord over thy brothers and thy mother's sons."
Plural mothers, plural sons.
No, singular mother over.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but over your mother's sons, even though there's only one other son that we know about. But I think this is actually an interesting little textual, like a little Easter egg here, hidden, that could mean that uh, Rebecca has other sons, but through like concubines,
Through her handmaids,
through her handmaids, yeah,
such
her
as
servants, perhaps.
Deborah.
Yes, right. Which is a possibility.
Hmm.
Anyway, so this is what I'm saying is Section 132 says something about Isaac, and a lot of people kind of poo-poo that, but in reality, it does not contradict. And even stronger than not contradicting, there are actually hints that he indeed was plurally married.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
okay, so keep reading.
Can we just do 5 through 25?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. You just stop me when you want to comment.
We're just going through a narrative regarding the fertility of Jacob's wives,
Okay.
basically. I wanted to cover this whole thing. There's a lot of data.
And Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and has also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore therefore called she his name Dan, or Dan, which means to judge. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. It is interesting there, it says with great wrestlings. Actually, the word there for great is Elohim.
Mm.
So with Elohim wrestlings, with with the wrestlings of God have I wrestled with my sister.
Wow.
Is what it actually like literally says. Um, okay. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob to wife.
So now Jacob has 4 wives.
Yes, that's right. Okay. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son, and Leah said, A troop cometh, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son, and Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben,
Real quick.
mhm.
Um, Happy and blessed in this case, I think, come from the Hebrew ashrei,
Yeah, right,
which is related to Asher.
correct. Yes. So again, the name is actually connected to the circumstances, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy sons mandrakes. So you have comments about this? What are mandrakes?
Mm-mm.
I don't think we know what mandrakes are, but there's some kind of like herbal, some kind of plant that is like related to fertility.
Okay.
Okay. So okay. So Rachel wants them because she hasn't had the other three wives have all had children now, and she has not. So she thinks that these mandrakes will help her. So she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldst thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. Working out a little deal with the schedule. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him and said, Thou must come unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. It's interesting, Dinah doesn't have a story or an explanation.
Hmm.
But Dinah actually is the same root as Dan,
Okay.
so it means judged. God is, yeah, means judge or judgment.
God
So
has judged me well, or
yeah,
God
yeah,
has given me a favorable judgment.
yeah. So I guess it's like we already explained what Dan meant like earlier. So,
Mhm.
so Dinah.
This is the female version, the ah ending,
Right.
dinah.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So now it's interesting. This is the only daughter mentioned. Um, but it's unlikely, just like statistically unlikely that that Dinah was the only daughter. But why is she mentioned? Well, it's just like so many other things in the Bible. Like the record is very terse, very abbreviated, and we only mention people that are necessary that are to like kind of that like come into the story later on,
Hmm.
right? And Dinah does, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 325 you said?
Yes, sir.
And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb, and she conceived, and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, or Yosef, and said, The Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, Send me away, that I may go to my own place, and to my country.
All right. So I wanted to like read all that because, that is the sort of beginning of the generations of Jacob,
Yeah.
right? And so I thought it was important to cover that. Do you have any
I
commentary?
do want to say Joseph is just a very interesting name. Obviously, we have this Joseph. Joseph of old is Joseph. This is going to be Joseph of Egypt, right? But we have in our own day Joseph Smith. But Joseph means, do you know,
I can't
it
remember.
means to add.
Oh, excellent.
So isn't that excellent
Yeah.
for Joseph Smith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also means to gather,
All right.
to add and to gather.
I love
So,
that.
okay.
That's actually really deep, considering both Joseph of Egypt and Joseph Smith
Right.
to add or to gather. Cool. Um, so Jacob asks Laban if he can leave. It's been a while. It's been 20 years.
Right.
He's been in the service of Laban for 20 years. And he wants to return to his tribe. This is a lost prince, like the age-old motif of the lost prince, right? It's time to go back home. This is his hero's journey. He has left home. He's been in the trenches for 20 years.
Yeah.
He's acquired, wives and children, and now it's time to go back home and claim the throne.
If you remember, his mother, Rebecca, said, Go away to Laban, to my brother's house for a few days until Esau has calmed down, and then I'm gonna send for you.
Hmm.
And then day after day after week, year
Yeah,
after year,
right.
and finally, finally, um, finally he's like, it's time to go home. Yeah, and it is likely that Rebecca did send a messenger, which we don't hear about now, but later on we will. That it was her servant Deborah. Yeah,
Okay.
that comes. So we'll read about her later. But
Sweet. So again, Jacob knows it's time to go home.
yeah,
And Laban asks him to stay because Laban has been greatly blessed by having Jacob around. His wealth, his flocks have multiplied. And I want to say something about Jacob and Abraham and Isaac as well. Jacob has been trained in the way of kingship and management. Okay. I don't think of Jacob as sort of this lone shepherd out there who's just really good with the flocks. I speculate and I think this is true that Jacob was out there managing all the servants. He was trained up in the way of kingship and flock management. And so
yeah,
he knows how to manage large scale operations. He is commanding servants, he's telling them where to go, he's handling the logistics. And under Jacob's management, Laban has just multiplied like his wealth, his flocks. So um,
yeah, and he is not oblivious to that fact.
he's not oblivious.
No.
And so Laban says, You should stay, name your price. And this we're kind of treading into one of the most perplexing texts in Genesis. Um, so let's dive in. Jacob requests that all the speckled stripes and spotted rams, the speckled and spotted she goats, and the black sheep go to him.
Yeah.
So Jacob's price, again, is to be given the speckled, striped, and spotted rams, the speckled and spotted she goats, and the black sheep. And Laban thinks this is a great deal. It's it seems that they make up a minority of his herd. It seems that the majority of his herd, goats and sheep, are like solid coated, are solid coats, right? These speckles and stripes and spots and black sheep are a recessive trait.
Right.
So Laban's like, man, this is an awesome deal.
This is great.
This is fantastic.
Uh,
And so,
Laban's probably like, what an idiot.
yeah, exactly.
He's like, I thought that you were wise, but now I see
You're a
that,
fool.
but not as wise as I.
And so Laban greedily has his sons separate
Yeah, let's do it right now.
Jacob's speckled and spotted flock from Laban's solid color flock
Yeah.
because he doesn't want any crossbreeding. He wants to like he wants Jacob to get
Cut it off.
yes,
Like to, yeah.
he wants Jacob to get as little as possible in
Like,
this deal.
yeah.
So he has his sons take Jacob's
Amazing.
smaller flock, which contains those traits, and now Jacob goes 3 days out
Yeah.
to do.
Some space.
He puts some space between him and he takes Laban's flock 3 days out because that's what you did. Uh, you were semi-nomadic.
Yeah.
You had to take the sheep and goats out to graze and the camels. You took them out to graze where they
Mm.
could graze, and that might be days away from the main camp.
I just remembered when Moses first goes to Pharaoh. He says, "Let us take our flocks and stuff and go. We're just going to go 3 days
Yeah.
out, and so that we can worship God without your disapproval,
Hmm.
without your interference." Uh, Pharaoh doesn't go for that, but
Right.
anyway, interesting.
It's a connection.
Yeah.
If there are times when Abraham's lineage are nomadic and times where they're semi-nomadic,
Mm.
and in this instance, it's semi-nomadic because they have a home base in Haran,
Hmm.
but Jacob's going out where there's vegetation for these flocks to feed on.
Can I say one more thing about this?
Yeah.
It is it is a point of ignorance, okay, that people think that these spotted sheep are somehow blemished.
Right.
That is not the case. But this comes from a New Testament verse, which I'm going to read right now.
Okay. And blemish meaning like impure, unfit for
Unfit for
sacrifice.
sacrifice. Yeah, right. Like yes, exactly. Okay, so this is from 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 19, talking about sacrifice of Christ. It says, "But with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot." So Christ is this lamb without blemish and without spot, and we know that Christ was like without sin or whatever, without impurity, without any kind of ritual defect, right? And so because of this verse right here, a lot of times you'll see like artwork of the Passover lamb, and it's always like a just a pure white, lamb. But that is not the requirement.
Hmm.
So there's actually there is sometimes, and this is kind of an unfortunate thing that just happens with translations, is that there are actually two different Hebrew words that both get translated to spot in English. So one, which is the spotted, speckled that Jacob is talking about here, is tala, if I'm pronouncing that right. And that actually literally just means like patchy, or like spotted in color.
Not a solid coat.
Not a solid coat. That's all that it means. Yeah.
And that is not a ritual, that does not cause ritual impurity for the lamb.
No, that's a perfect lamb.
Common myth. It
Yeah.
does not have to be a solid colored animal to be ritually fit.
Yeah, there's only one time when there's a solid colored animal.
Red heifer.
Red heifer. That's right. Every other time it does not. The color doesn't matter.
Okay.
So the other word in the Old Testament, and this is used, like it is used in the case of the red heifer, for example, says tamim, and this spot means a lot of times you'll say without spot and blemish, very similar to what it says in the New Testament, without blemish and without spot. So these are like two different kinds of imperfections. Without like the word spot, actually the tamim means whole or complete. So, in other words, the animal needs to be whole. So it can't be missing an ear or missing an eye
Or
or
no cuts or
yeah,
tags or
yeah. You can't have docked the tail, for or castrated it, right? It needs to be a whole animal. That's what the spot means.
no defect, no bodily uh,
Yeah,
harm or
and
anything like
then
that.
the blemish part is yeah, it might be whole, like it has both horns, but one of the horns is like crooked or something, or it has a lame leg or something. Okay, so that's the spot and that's the blemish. So interesting that there are places in the New Testament where this kind of without spot and blameless or without spot or blemish is used to describe like the saints. So I'm just gonna pull up one maybe. This is First Timothy 6:14. Um, um, so he's going to give, he gives, he says, I will read verse 13 too. I give thee a charge in the sight of God, who quickeneth all things, and before Christ Jesus, who before Pontius Pilate witnessed a good confession. I give you a charge that you keep commandment without spot, unrebukable. So when he says keep the commandment without spot, this is tamim. That means whole. It means
Right.
all the commandments. You keep the commandment without spot and unrebukable. So that means like you keep everything, and also that all the things that you do keep are done correctly,
Hmm.
right? So when the New Testament uses this, it's talking about this whole or completeness. But when Jacob is talking about the spotted sheep, the Hebrew word is actually just means patchy, or not a what'd you say? Not a solid coat. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's really fascinating, and we will go more in depth regarding those things when we get to like the law portion
yeah.
of the law of Torah, um, when it describes sort of the ritual instructions and all that. But I appreciate you bringing that up. That's super interesting. And so we're at the point where uh, Laban withholds Jacob's flocks, so they can't breed with Laban's flocks, so it doesn't give Jacob any more, sheep and goats,
To work with.
to work with.
Yeah.
So Jacob takes Laban's solid coated flock 3 days out to feed them to pasture. And because this is the Near East and it's not necessarily fertile everywhere, right? There's
Hmm.
a few places where the Near East is fertile and they're kind of few and far between.
Yeah.
So
It's
um,
arid. Yeah.
it's pretty arid, pretty dry, right? So this is again a strange passage. People have a hard time understanding it. But what happens is Jacob sets up an extremely successful breeding program
All right.
through advanced skills in herbalism and direct inspiration from God. And if I'd be much obliged if you would read chapter 30, 37 through 43, and then I have some things I'm going to
Okay.
read after that.
Okay.
So 37 through 43, please.
And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut tree, and pilled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. So he like peeled the bark off and exposed the white wood underneath, right? And he set the rods which he had pilled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ring-straked, and all the brown in the flock of Laban, and he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in, so the feebler were Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. And the man, meaning Jacob, increased exceedingly, and he had much cattle, and maidservants, and men servants, and camels and asses.
Well, there you go. You guys got that right. No, just kidding. So, Jacob uses herbalism to sort of increase the fertility and the strength of the flocks.
Hmm.
And then he specifically targets the stronger, more fit animals for this breeding program. So he separates sort of the weaker, less viable animals out, so he can breed the best for
Interesting.
himself. I'm going to read an article in Answers in Genesis, which
Okay,
is
let's hear it.
it's often a pretty good site. It's
Yeah, I do
Protestant.
like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. It's Protestant, so as Latter-day Saints, there's going to be some disagreements sometimes, but I'm just going to read a quick article on
Okay,
this
yeah, let's
topic,
hear it.
and they lay it out pretty well. I didn't want to paraphrase because
Okay, fascinating.
they enumerate it pretty well. But so Jacob put the peeled sticks in the watering trough, and that the flocks bred right near those troughs. In fact, what is probably being alluded to is the fact that as the females drank water from the troughs, the males would come up behind them to mate. The lambs were likely placed in front of the watering troughs to keep the female animals focused in front of them, while the males came up from behind and bred with them. Now, the issue which then arises is that since Laban took all the striped, speckled, and mottled animals out of the flocks, how could the pure color-coded flocks start producing nothing but spotted and striped animals? And we're gonna answer that question later. If
Okay.
if Laban separated out what Jacob needed, then why it
It seems
why
like it's a recessive.
yeah, why yes, yeah, exactly. Jacob only has solid coated animals to work with, but they contain some recessive genes,
All right.
and the Lord is going to inspire Jacob in this process. But we'll get to that in a sec. Let's continue. Uh, we must remember that the original spotted or striped animals did not come about in a vacuum. There obviously was the genetic information for at least some of the animals to have spotted or striped coats. Taking the text at face value, it appears to be a recessive trait that compared to the number of pure colored coated flocks, which dominated the flocks. If things were to work out the way they did, Jacob needed to have those animals with the genetic traits for stripes, spots, and mottling to outbreed the single color coated flocks. This would require three things: intricate knowledge of the animal's feeding and mating behaviors, medicine to keep such animals healthier, and an understanding of which animals had the genetic traits he needed to produce. We'll tackle the medicinal herbs later, but for now, let's consider the genetics. Fortunately for Jacob, he did not need to know anything about genetics. All he had to do was obey God. Jacob was given advanced knowledge of which animals would be born due to which animals were breeding. But wait, how could there be any spotted or striped animals to breed when they had already been removed by Laban? We need to keep in mind that this was a vision and that the striped and spotted animals were most likely God showing Jacob the underlying genetic makeup of some of the flock. All Jacob did to perhaps help God's providential breeding program was to ensure that either he gave certain animals herbal medicines to make them healthier, and or whatever animals seemed physically stronger were given the herbal remedies and extra feed at breeding season, and apparently solid animals providentially produced more spotted ones. So uh, it hasn't said it yet, but Jacob explains to his wives later that God had given him a vision of spotted and speckled stripes feeding,
Hmm.
even though all he had to work with were solid coated flocks. So it seems like God showed Jacob like the genetic makeup of these solid colored animals to show him which ones had the recessive traits for spots and speckles and modeling,
Interesting.
basically.
Yeah.
And then just one more. Let's talk about the herbalism involved here now.
Okay.
Um, Several sources claim the poplar and almond trees have medicinal properties for both humans and livestock. There are several scientific journal papers that mention that the particular trees from which Jacob peeled the sticks supposedly cure urogenital problems, reduce fevers, work as anti-inflammatories, and aid in reducing reproductive disorders. All of these would make an animal healthier and more likely to produce healthy offspring.
Interesting.
Yeah, amazing.
That's cool.
Every herb mentioned like
Now
is
you said almond.
yes.
Now the King James says poplar, hazel, and chestnut. Do you know which of those is a
I don't.
okay?
I didn't look that deep
Just
into it.
sometimes that there's like uh there's rare words that are used that there's like dispute about which what the meaning is. So I'm
Right.
just curious if
And the King James translators, our knowledge of Hebrew has grown more advanced
yeah,
in the last
right.
400 years, as you would hope. So,
We discovered more documents and more inscriptions and
and then
more data points.
we've been able to like look at Aramaic and Akkadian and
Yeah.
Ugaritic to sort of help.
To like triangulate meanings of things.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Um, and finally, just one more paragraph. Several studies have been done on poplar and almond tree bark, leaves, nuts, and twigs. And they mentioned that sheep would eat these and that ewes specifically benefited from them. Also, many of the chemical compounds would still be beneficial even by simply steeping in the water. So again, Jacob separated the weaker animals from the stronger, more fit animals. He gave the fit animals all of these herbs to increase their fertility and their strength, and then God gave him a vision of which of those animals had sort of the recessive traits he wanted.
Hmm.
And so Jacob essentially creates speckled, spotted, and striped animals out of thin air,
Yeah.
but through with God's providence,
Amazing.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. Hope that wasn't too complicated to understand, but that's the basic gist of it.
When I love that. So that's very cool. I
Yeah,
actually want you to send me that article.
I will.
But when I think about Jacob doing this, it reminds me of the brother of Jared.
Okay.
Like I've got this problem and I need you to we need light. And so he's like, I'm going to like make some stones and I want you to the stones by themselves maybe wouldn't do much, but like God touches them and then like a miracle occurs. And so
Wow.
like I kind of think about this in that way. Like okay, I'm gonna like make some sticks that are like striped and speckled, like I want the sheep, and then God like does a miracle. But it's like
Amazing.
God like meets. But I like the herbal when I thought that's pretty cool.
It's amazing. And I didn't even consider that. Like you just said, Jacob,
I'm gonna
he's
do my little teeny part
yes,
and
he separates the weak from the strong.
yeah.
He gives the strong herbs to facilitate the process. And then, like you said, God gives him the miracle,
Right,
what he
right.
needs to get the rest of the way. I
Yeah.
mean,
Amazing.
yeah, cool. That's a cool connection to
Hmm.
the brother of Jared. Um, and that's it for 30, if unless you have anything else
Nope.
to add. Okay. So Jacob comes out of this very successful. His breeding program was
It's a
successful.
smashing success.
Uh,
Wild success.
yeah, wild success. And now, again,
How frustrating for Laban
oh
too.
yeah, Laban thought he was
He's
getting a
like, I
great
got him.
deal.
Yeah.
I get to keep Jacob for like dirt cheap.
Yeah.
He thought he was really getting one over on Jacob, but
Yeah.
so Jacob
Have
re
you just as on a side note, there is a breed of sheep still, and I don't know, but I think the claim is that they are like it's like a Mediterranean, Middle Eastern breed of sheep called Jacob sheep.
okay.
Have you heard of them or seen
No,
them?
not at all.
They're not white. They are like patchy and stuff, but
Okay.
they're really interesting because both the male and female are horned, and they have multiple sets of horns. Like they have
Wow.
like they have like four horns each.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're pretty cool.
I'm gonna look
Go
it up.
check out Jacob Sheep.
I will.
Yeah,
That actually sounds fascinating.
yeah.
Um, so Jacob returns, having increased his wealth dramatically. and he hears Laban's sons complaining against him
Yeah.
naturally. And he noticed that Laban's
Dad
count
is an idiot.
dad's an idiot,
He's
or
he's giving us giving away our wealth.
yeah, because that's their wealth.
Right.
That's their inheritance, right?
Right.
They think they're going to benefit from Jacob's prosperity as well.
Hmm.
Um, so and then Jacob also notices that Laban's countenance has changed. Laban does not seem too happy. Probably cold, short, not happy to talk to Jacob. He knows
Doesn't
that
smile anymore when I come around.
no, he thought that he had again amassed a lot of wealth, and Jacob
Yeah.
comes with a ton of spotted and striped animals, and Laban had agreed to give Jacob all that. Um
Rough.
so God tells Jacob to get out of there and that he will support Jacob and be with him. And Jacob explains the situation to Rachel and Leah, and he calls them as witnesses to Laban's deceit and treachery. And Jacob says, Laban's changed my pay 10 times. You guys have seen that. And Jacob then explains that God gave him instruction via dream on how to successfully manage the breeding program. So Jacob tells his wives what had happened with the breeding program and God's providence there. And Rachel and Leah agree with Jacob about everything, and they also acknowledge that they've been mistreated by Laban.
Yeah. Can I say this is actually a beautiful moment that
Yeah,
actually because a lot of times again people kind of see what they want to see,
I agree
and
with
it's
you.
and it's like anyway, if your whole life was boiled down to 10 or 20 verses and they picked kind of some less flattering ones like it, it's not a good, it might not be a good look.
Even half and half. If 10 verses were the best moments in your life and 10 were the worst,
Yeah,
people would still criticize you.
right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and that is kind of what happens,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, this is beautiful because um, Jacob says he called Rachel and Leah out into the field in the flock. He's like, "Wives, come here. I got like God's telling me to that's time to leave." And he lays it out, and they are just united with him.
Yeah.
They say, um, "Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do." Like we are with you, and we are united. Like
Beautiful.
let's do this.
They're a family here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's a beautiful moment. They're united with each other and with him
Hmm.
and with God.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean this is a very touching moment.
It actually is. Like I do feel the spirit right now. Um, it would be easy to just read over this, but this is a big deal. I mean, a man and his wives united with God, like we shouldn't just gloss over that. We should
Yeah,
actually consider that, you know. Before they go, Rachel steals one of her father's idols. Okay. So she does that, and they
more than one.
more than one,
Yeah, the images.
the images, right?
So yeah, these are idols.
And Jacob doesn't know that.
Right.
And they all depart with Jacob departs with his entire family and all his wealth, his newly gained wealth.
Do you have any thoughts on why she would steal those?
Actually, no.
I think there are different ideas, but it is kind of a strange thing. Did she steal them because she thought like that because she believed in them and she thought that they would be useful to
I
her? This is one possibility.
right.
Did she steal them because um uh she was that because she rejected them and she was united with Yehovah, God of her husband, and was she just like showing her father that his idols are so easily defeated or whatever? Like, and this is like an insult to the injury.
Hmm.
The book of Jasher actually says that she, although I don't think she didn't worship or didn't use the idols in her own worship, but she believed that there was actually power behind those things.
Mm.
And so she actually took those, this is according to Jasher. She took those idols so that her father would not be able to consult them to like find out where Jacob and his family were fleeing.
That sounds viable. Yeah, so at this point, they've left and Rachel has stolen the images.
Yeah.
Uh, and Laban realizes and he pursues after them with an army, like his sons and
Boom.
his brothers, his
Yeah.
servants, whatever.
Saddle up, boys.
Yeah, so this is kind of a big deal. And God warns Laban in a dream, do not do any harm to Jacob. Do not do function or dysfunction, don't do anything.
Yeah.
Um, so Laban catches up to Jacob. He airs his grievances with Jacob. Then he asks why Jacob stole the idol. Now, Jacob has no knowledge of this, and he says that whoever stole it will die.
Ooh, rough.
Rough. So Laban searches the entire camp. Rachel hides the idol. Is
Yeah, so like the camel's furniture it says. So like the camel's saddle is like they like unsaddled the camel. They're just in camp or whatever.
right,
But the camel's saddle is sitting in the tent.
like a chair,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
cushion.
It's
Yeah.
like yeah, she's sitting on it and with the guy with the idols hidden underneath it. And it's interesting, she says, the custom of women is upon me. Meaning, she was on her period.
Oh, okay, on her period, not with child. It
No.
was her menstrual cycle.
Yes. So in other words, don't touch me, and also the stuff that I'm touching is unclean.
Oh, this is
Oh,
again more proof that
oh
they
yeah.
kept Torah
What in the world?
because she is ritually impure
That's
and
right.
she would impart that ritual impurity to Laban.
Yeah.
And anything she touches is ritually
Yeah. Isn't it
impure.
amazing that it mentions this like
Okay.
before, supposedly before those things were ever given?
The way I read that was she's pregnant and don't ask me to
Ah,
move right to get up at it because so that's really
yeah.
fascinating. Okay, and so Laban can't find this thing because Rachel hid it well, right? Or
Yes.
she was wise in the way that she hid it.
Deceiver.
So now,
I mean, Rachel is. I mean,
yeah,
this shows Rachel's, like you said, like it's like a family of deceivers. She learned from the best, you know.
yeah, right. It's so funny. So now Jacob begins airing his grievances. Whereas before Laban aired his grievances, now Jacob's
Now the
like
tables are
the
turned
tables
because
are turned. It's like so. He complains of all the wrong that Laban has done him, and so at this point they cut a covenant to never cross over this place with the intent to do harm to the other.
yeah,
Um, and Laban covenants in Aramaic because he is Syrian, he's Mesopotamian, and Jacob covenants in Hebrew. And
you know.
you'll go for it.
But before we get to that, I'm just gonna point out yet another cool thing in verse 39. Um, uh, okay, so he's yeah in verse 39 he says he's talking about when he's like he's been in charge of Laban's flocks, and he says that which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee. I bore the loss of it. Of my hand didst thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. And stolen meaning stolen by like lions or wolves or whatever it was that, or bears. Oh my.
Yeah, that's bad treatment.
Well, listen though, in in Exodus chapter 22, and this is not, it's maybe not exactly the same situation, but it says if 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 someone is taking care of his neighbor's animals, um, and um, and the animal that you're taking care of your neighbor's animal, and it dies. Okay, then let's see. Okay, then the oath of the Lord between them both, that he has not put his hand to his neighbor's good, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and shall not make it good. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner. And if it be torn to pieces, let him bring it for a witness, and he shall not make good that which was torn. So he's actually complaining because there was things that were torn of beasts, and the Torah says if it was torn by beasts, then he doesn't have to pay for
It's
it.
not the dog sitter's fault.
Right, right,
It's not Jacob's fault if
right.
some of Laban's flock is torn by beasts under his watch.
Yeah.
This is the problem of evil, right? A natural evil right here. It's
Yes.
Jacob can't be held accountable for this.
Yeah, but he says I bore the loss of it.
Right,
And anyway. So anyway, it's just another kind of interesting connection to like the future law that's given.
right. And this is part of his complaint, right?
Yeah,
That would allude to the fact that Laban sort of forced him, like any losses, it seems like Jacob would have to make restitution for that,
right,
which is wrong.
right.
Um, so they cut this covenant. Laban has Jacob covenant not to afflict his daughters, so to treat them well, and then to take no additional wives. He has Laban's daughters and their handmaids, and Laban says that's, you're not going to take any more wives,
Mm,
which is interesting. And so at this point, they make sacrifice and break bread, and then Laban departs.
okay. Yeah, I think just on that take other wives, he's talking about afflicting them. Like don't mistreat my daughters.
Hmm.
And the I think the context is there is like don't take other wives and like don't neglect
Right.
my daughters, right? Which later on the Torah has things to say about as well.
Cool.
So
Okay. So next chapter, Genesis 32. So Laban has already departed. Now, Genesis 32, Jacob departs, and angels of God come to Jacob. And he names the place which they came to him. I don't know the meaning of that word in Hebrew. I wish I would have looked it up.
it's in the footnote if you have the.
Excellent.
It is very cool.
What is it?
Mahanaim. So like a lot of the times that naim is added when there's like two of something.
Yeah, it's plural.
Yeah, Mahanaim means two hosts or two camps.
Wow. So Jacob's camp and God's camp.
And the angels, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
Well, uh I think it's more than well he sees the two camp. There's yeah, the angels um angels go before him. They met him and yeah, I think that it's probably a little ambiguous. He says this is God's host and then he calls the name of the place two camps or two hosts. I think one understanding is that he could be referring to the angels, but the other understanding is that the angelic and the earthly, like that this is God's host.
the
Like
whole
the
thing.
whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the mortal side of God's divine counsel
That's
and the
exactly right.
angelic side. Yeah, these hosts are God's counsel.
That is
So,
God's counsel, the
but
divine counsel.
there is something really sacred going on here. This isn't just like a, friendly meeting with small talk. And
Right.
Jacob is meeting with the divine counsel of God, and God is always present with his divine counsel.
Right.
So this is really cool stuff. And there's obviously like no detail on what's going on,
Right.
but after this, Jacob sends messengers to Esau in Seir, which is the site of Esau's new tribe and kingdom.
Yeah.
Remember that Isaac blessed Esau that he would break Jacob's yoke from off his neck,
Yeah.
which means Jacob is the governor now.
Yeah.
When Isaac dies, Jacob is the governor. He is ruler over all his brothers. Well, Esau apparently refused to bend the knee,
Yeah.
and so he set off to
Part.
form his own tribe, his own kingdom.
Yeah.
So Jacob is aware of this, and he sends messengers to Esau, and I'm guessing he's testing the waters here because seems like he's unsure. Are we good? Do you still want to kill me? You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So, and that's where this portion ends.
Okay.
Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
No, that was great. Yeah. I'm that was there's a lot there. I mean,
Hmm.
we have the House of Israel established.
Oh,
Right.
quite literally,
Right.
this is the beginning of Israel.
Right. Yeah. We haven't got to Israel yet. The house of Jacob, I'll say, is
Hmm.
established. Yeah. So spoiler.
Okay.
Jacob becomes Israel.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. It's the it's the whatever 3,000 year rule.
Yeah,
Spoilers are allowed.
we're over that now.
Yeah,
We're over
whatever it
the
is.
the 3,000 year hump. But thanks for being with us. I hope the Spirit was able to inspire you or teach you something. And we're grateful that you're in this walk with us in Torah. This is the walk of our Savior, and it is the walk we should be on as well.
Yeah.
So appreciate your time, and may the Lord bless you and keep you.
Shalom.
Shalom.